welcome to the stage, the 2025 Expanders Panel.
I had built so much off of seeking validation, and I knew it wasn't going to be the thing to continue going forward. I had to shift my identity to step into the next version that I wanted to become.
I was asked to be a speaker at an event, a huge event. Even though I had all of the accolades and the proof that I belonged on that stage, I was terrified. I tapped into a passion to help people, and I freaked the out. I didn't want to be seen. And so now I'm in a season where that's exactly what I'm doing.
So I'm 51. I don't have a lot of time to worry about fear. I did that in my 30s. Like, I'm just so scared of what you think of me. I'm actually more afraid of not trying.
This group of women, I have had the ultimate privilege to really watch with a front row view their expansion over the last year and a half. Some of them I've known longer than that. Some of them I've known much longer than that. But all four of them have been attendees at multiple Expanders retreats. They are women who do all different things. They have all different backgrounds. And this is another opportunity to just hear and see the thing that is going to expand you in the way that you may not even realize right now. You have a limitation on what you believe is possible. So I want you to help me welcome to the stage the 2025 Expanders Panel. So the first question I'm going to have each of you answer is, who do you want to introduce yourselves as today? Because several of you have started new businesses since I last talked to you, and I talked to you pretty frequently. So I'm going to go down the line. We'll have Taylor start first. Who do you want to introduce yourself as today?
Okay, I'm Taylor Wray. I am the founder of Awakening Soul. I'm an embodiment facilitator, and I am introducing myself today as the woman that I dreamed of becoming years ago at 21 years old when I first got sober. Yeah. And I am so present to the fact that everything that I've envisioned for myself is unfolding, and everything that we do, when we do the inner work, anything is possible. And so really landing into that I'm experiencing my potential.
And next up, we have Miss Mapuana.
I'm Mapuana Reed. I am 51 years old and proud of it.
And I always make her share. I'm like, share how many kids and grandkids you have. This is like the ultimate expansion for me.
I have 6 kids, 5 grandkids, and in a few months, it'll be 6 grandkids. So 6 kids, 6 grandkids, yeah. I have a podcast, Mapuana Reed Show, and I am launching Malama Rituals, and I'm giving myself 90 days to launch this business. And it's rituals that I do daily to return home to myself. Because as I get older and as I age, I see things that are different. Like my hands are different, like my neck. I'm like, what the fuck's happening here? You know? Like, who is that? Okay. And so I created a lotion candle and stuff like that. Like just ways to return home, because I want to age in a way that I have so much gratitude for myself. I want to look at my hands, and I want to love my hands, and I want to look at my neck and my face and all the wrinkles, and I want to remember how this got here. And it's because of all the aloha and all the smiles and love that I was able to give. And that's how I got to where I am now. So, and I want to be excited about aging, which I am.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah, she's like, I started a new business. I was like, I can't wait to hear about it. This is amazing. I think you did too, Marisa, didn't you? Okay, great.
A couple. Okay, well, I'm going to leave those last. My name is Marisa Rylan, and I have really been exploring this question of who I am myself recently. And so I like to introduce myself as a spiritual being right now who is just fully surrendered and enjoying the full depth of the human experience. Yes, I'm a weirdo. Starting with that, let's get that out of the way. I'm a mom. I'm also an autism mom, which is yes, thank you. Very big part of my life that I am working very hard on embracing in new and different ways. big part of my journey. And I also, what do I contribute to the world? I help high achieving, soulful, spiritual women who have been successful unlock and manifest their next level through working through energy blocks and trauma healing. And more recently, I have started supporting pro athletes and their wives and partners with a space I like to call between mindset and muscle. It's energetics, it's nervous system regulation, and it's emotion coaching. So I am doing a lot of different things. I am definitely a multi-hyphenate human.
Who else? Any other multi-hyphenate humans in here? Permission. Felicia.
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi. That's my podcast, by the way. I didn't want to do the play on words because I get the bye Felicia all the time. I'm like, no, it's hi Felicia. So actually, before I start, Lindsay, the universe wanted to play a joke on me today. Okay, so I was walking in and I see my friend Lindsay, another Lindsay in my life, and she's like, let's get a picture. And I like to attribute because I'm muscular and I have like a wider back. I'll tell you my story a little bit with fitness, but my zipper popped open and my dress in the back just popped off. And I had to catch myself. I had to run to the bathroom. Thank you to Christy from Austin, who's in the room. She was trying so hard to get the safety pin to the back of my dress. And then Rudy, who was the bathroom attendant, actually she was cleaning the bathroom. She looked like my nana. She's like my second grandma. She's like, I am going to sew this for you. And she did. And it is sewed into my skin. The second joke is this is a romper, so I can't go to the bathroom. So if you see me
things we do.
I'm not going to drink any more water. So thank you, universe, duality. So I'm a firm believer that you can't appreciate where you are and love who you are if you don't give gratitude from where you came from. And I was born and raised in a single parent home. My dad left when I was really young, and I didn't realize, at the age of 8 is when I went into that fight or flight. And yesterday was so moving for me because I've been doing so much inner child work these last few years. So seeing little Lindsay, it just I got so emotional. So thank you so much for sharing that. Anytime I am doing meditation or breath work, I always see the little me. And so, my background is fitness. I was a fitness competitor. I was an IFBB figure pro. So I competed on the big stages with so when you think of the Olympia, it's kind of like the Super Bowl of what I did. So think Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I did the Olympia 5 or 6 years in a row. I placed 3rd in the world. And thank you. And I used a lot of those years because I needed that validation, that external validation. And then I didn't realize later on as an adult that that was the work that I needed to do. So as I am today, sitting on this couch, I am Felicia. I am a franchise partner, gym owner. I am the host of the Hi Felicia Podcast. I also mentor women to step into their highest self. And it's so funny because I joined the Expanders Retreat, love it, it's incredible. But I've also been reflected back to me by my girlfriends that I'm an expander for them. So that's me. Thank you.
Her podcast is incredible. It's one of my favorite interviews. Well, we've done multiple, but I feel like we just crack open when we sit down to podcast together.
Oh my gosh.
They're some of my favorite podcast interviews.
Lindsay's been to my house twice. I remember the first time she left the house, she actually sent me a voice note and she's like, I have vulnerability hangover. Let me just sit with this for a little bit because I shared so much that I didn't realize I was going to share. So, and a testament to Lindsay for always saying yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I know each of these women's stories, and I wanted to pull things out of their individual journeys that would be really applicable, especially knowing kind of where we would be at this point in the journey. So I'm going to start with Taylor because, I love anchoring it back with that season. And we were trying to figure out, it's 2016 probably. I was writing my book. You were launching or working on your first yoga teacher training, which is a really long process. You're writing a 200-page document. And now...
400.
Oh, sorry. You're writing, it's half of it is 200 pages. And you just had a huge, huge milestone in your business, launching your 300-hour yoga teacher training. Do you want to share what that milestone was? It's such a cool business milestone. And then we're going to dig into the story behind it and how you did it.
Yes. I just hit my first 6-figure launch.
In one launch.
One program launch. Yeah. So huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
So take me back to like in those early stages, like where was your business then, to like even just to contrast the breakthrough that this launch was?
So I've had my business for 8 years now. And first, I really want to just get this clear that this was not a fast process for me. This is 8 years of having a business, but at least 12 years of doing the work to prepare my being, my nervous system, my energetic field, my beliefs to even be able to call this in. So I'm not the story of someone launching a business 1 to 3 years later, scaling to 6 figures or having a big launch. I've had my business for the last 4 years has been 6 figures. And I stayed pretty consistent at that point. I also wasn't ready for more. Actually, like if I'm being honest, I wanted it like in my mind and stayed pretty consistent. I was afraid of the responsibility. I was afraid of the success. I was afraid of more. And I learned that what we desire to call in, we have to find safety in our body, in our being, to actually be an energetic match for that. So we might think we want something, but we have to actually do the work to expand our capacity to receive the thing. And that's been my experience through this. So last year is when I hopped on a call with Lindsay and we talked about expanders. And I did go in October and I went again in February. At that point, I was in this process of becoming so honest with myself in seeing all the ways that my business was not working, was not sustainable. I continued to burn out launch to launch and really got so present to all of the ways that we've heard this before yesterday. My wounding was creating my success. Yeah. So I had to unravel a lot. I'm still unraveling. It's not been pretty. And seeing all the ways that I had built so much off of seeking validation, and it served me at the time. It really did. It was beautiful, and I needed it to be exactly what it was. And I knew it wasn't going to be the thing to continue going forward. To get to the next level version of myself, I had to unravel all of that and begin to shift my identity to step into the next version that I wanted to become. And what that really looked like was expanding my capacity for more everything, more responsibility, more visibility, more success, more money, more love, more joy, more happiness, more potential failure, more risk, more uncertainty. What's on the other side? I don't know. And I get to trust myself, more self-trust, more self-validation. So I think I became so present to like, it's everything that I had to just continue to lean into to call in more and to become that match. This is nothing with strategy. Everything I'm sharing is all energetic here, honestly. It's all frequency. It's all healing wounds, trauma. And that for me has been the foundation to set up aligned action for strategy. What's the energy behind my strategy? How am I showing up in my being and my frequency before I take this action over here that will produce a result? But who am I under it? Who am I behind it? And that's been the biggest process in all of this, honestly. So I had to become the person that could actually be a match for that.
I would love to make it even more tactical and tangible, because that is so important to get before you go out and try to apply any strategy. So if you can take me to like either a daily practice, or it's like, how do you meet yourself in the moment where something shows up? What is your plan for addressing the triggers when they show up? Because sometimes, there's the daily things we do, but I've grown the most in understanding how to meet the fear of success when it shows up. Like it's my opportunity to overcome it and to rewire that pattern when the trigger shows up. So however you want to address that.
Yeah, it's not going to blow your mind, honestly. For real. And that's what I've learned is it's not doing anything. It's exactly what Lindsay said. It's because in this process, the moment I hit the 6 figures, it was amazing. I was like, wow, I can celebrate this. This is huge. This is exciting. And then I also realized nothing felt that different. I was like, oh, I actually don't feel different. And I realized why was because I had been preparing myself energetically for 8 years beyond for that moment. It wasn't about the moment itself. So I already had matched the moment. But then in that is when all my fears got louder a few days later. So it's almost like everything amplified and I got back into my head and my past wounds were coming back through of all of the fears. And I thought to myself, what should I do? I'm not doing enough. I need to heal. I need to heal these parts. These are all showing up. And I realized it's not doing anything. It's how do I drop back into myself, into my body, into my breath, and literally just sit with yourself in silence and track. It's somatic tracking. How can I track the sensation moving through me and recognize, oh, this part that is afraid of responsibility, afraid of success, this part, I'm afraid to lose this now. Now that I hit this, what if I don't ever get this again? How can I just track all of the fears, be honest with myself, and then hold it? That's it. Just hold it. There's nothing to do with it, but to acknowledge, to be present with it. And so all that is, again, it's coming back into breath, maybe a little gentle movement. It's the opposite of doing. So less action and just stillness. And stillness is really hard. Stillness is not easy. So how can I find more stillness with myself? Again, it's not mind-blowing. It's going back into self and finding more connection to your somatic self, your body, your energetic self, and having support as well. I did start working with a somatic practitioner in this whole process because I was like, I need to be held just like I hold others. And I think having that support is also really big.
Yeah. And I love that reminder. I was like, I keep pressing you. I was like, no, but give us the tactics. She's like, no, it's just being.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang it.
It's actually nothing with strategy.
So I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that has been my biggest lesson, the thing I've had to surrender to the most. And I think, again, going back to the intuition, is not looking for someone else to teach me how I need to help myself through those moments, is taking that breath, taking that pause, and even just turning in. And it's almost kind of like I'm asking a small child, like, okay, what do you need right now, sweetheart? Mm-hmm. And I'll usually get something. It's like sometimes like, bitch, I need a meal. You're hungry. You need to eat. You need to rest. You need a nap. It's never like you need to write another email. It's usually, I go for a walk. Turn on a song and dance. Call a friend. It's almost never something that feels tied at all to productivity.
I think there's one last piece that maybe can be a little more tangible in that process of going inward. And you said it, connecting, like you're speaking to a child. A lot of these parts are actually connected to our past selves. So if I'm afraid of failing or if I'm afraid of not being good enough, when did I feel that the first time in my life? So you can go back to when was the first moment I felt so afraid of this thing? Where did it come from? When I can get to the root and recognize that's actually not happening today, but I can go back and acknowledge that that was present in my life when I was 8. And then we can hold that 8-year-old self, and it actually helps to dissolve the power of it today.
So powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mapuana,
you are just one of the boldest women that I know. I mean, I remember she came into the first Expanders retreat and when she applied, so for Expanders, we have everyone apply because it really is, it's a highly curated experience. We only accept maximum 40 people. We've had a group as small as 20 people. It just kind of all depends. And I remember reading your application and feeling this courage that I hadn't met you yet. So now I actually experience it viscerally when I'm with you. But you shared really boldly in your application, like, I already have the successful business and I want to go in a whole different direction. Yeah. And I don't know that you shared that you were in your 50s or any of that in the application, but I just was like, oh, remember yesterday when I was saying that sometimes the upgrade is going to call you to completely pivot from something that feels so certain and you get a lot of validation for and you're known for, to go completely into the unknown. So I was immediately like, yes, yes, yes. I want to be in whatever room this woman is in. And then to watch you step into that so courageously, launching the podcast, come back the next Expanders event. Now she's hosting her first event, and just like it shattered for me what I think is possible and how long things take me, because she just says yes and then she figures it out. So for you, what gives you that courage? What do you want to say to the people in this room who they're going to go home, or maybe they're already awake to the fact that it's kind of a bold pivot that's a part of their next expansion?
So I'm 51, right? And so I know my time is limited here. So I need to go fast. Like, I am past the halftime show at this point. I'm like third quarter pretty much. And so I don't have a lot of time to worry about fear. Like, I don't care what you think of me. I don't care at this point of like, I will fail. I probably will. Like, chances are I will. But I'm actually more afraid of not trying because my time is limited. Am I going to just sit here in fear and then just worry? Like, I'm just so scared of worrying about like what you think of me. I did that in my 30s. And now in my 50s, I'm like, oh, the finish line is coming up pretty close. So I better get cracking.
Like, you're not allowed to say that. But about the finish line, I'm like, there's modern medicine. We're going to all live till past 100. But it's actually true for all of us that we don't know. We just don't know how much time we have. And that is something that I don't think is talked about enough in the pros of aging, is that with every decade, another layer of really being controlled by what other people thought or all of that really does come off.
Yeah.
I would love for you to speak to the action piece though, because you did, I mean, it's pretty outrageous to say in October, I'm going to host an event in May. You've never hosted an event before, haven't built community, and you had the most beautiful event. Now, granted, it was in Hawaii, so I remember being like, I'll come. And, we did. I remember sitting next to you at lunch, and I said, okay, when is it? I pulled up my phone. I said, I'm going to put the date in my calendar, and I'll be there. And she said, well, I think May. And I'm thinking I didn't want to put my limitations on her, and it was October. I was thinking, that's not a lot of time. But I was like, May, got it. Because I'm just going to let her figure it out. And you put on the most beautiful event. How many women did you have in the room?
About 75.
75, yes.
Yeah, and a bunch of them are here with us today.
And then she brought a whole plane full of them here to Powerhouse Women. Yeah. So can you speak to the action piece? Like, how are you feeling when you made that bold promise? Like, were you freaking out? And then what was like the next action steps? How did you overcome the fear and put it into action? Because there's going to be people in the room who gave their scary promise and they're going to go home, and that doubt is going to creep in. The, oh shit, what did I give my word to is going to creep in.
So when we sat at lunch and you asked me, what's your next big dream or what's your next big goal? And I was just like throwing it out there. I was like, because I knew in my heart, like, this is what I wanted to do, but I haven't voiced it out, or I didn't tell anyone actually what I really wanted to do. And so Lindsay's like, what's your next big goal? And I was like, I don't know, maybe just host an event. And she's like, where? And I'm like, Ritz-Carlton, Turtle Bay, because it's like 7 minutes from my house. And then she's like, when? I'm like, oh, May, because the weather's really pretty and everything. And then she's like, okay, I'll be there. Yeah, oh, yeah. And then it was the podcast anniversary. It was the 1-year anniversary of my podcast. And just saying that, and she's like, okay, I'm going to be there. And then I was like, oh my God, great. Now I really have to do it, But had I not told you, and had I not got into the room with the expanders and told this group of women, I think I would have chickened out, because I didn't have anybody to hold me accountable for it. You locked it in your calendar, and then I was like, all right, here we go. Time to rock and roll, people. Let's go. Yeah.
That really is the power. And listen, I say this a lot about myself. I really wish that I was motivated to overcome my fears without investing a lot of money or getting really uncomfortable by telling someone I really respect.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's got to be extra painful. Like, I would never in my wildest dreams not follow through on that, because I either really want this person to respect me that I told, or I just invested a lot of money in, a mastermind or whatever. And I really wish I were more motivated just on my own without having to invest a lot. But that has been the most powerful catalyst for, especially when I'm ready to make the really big shifts, because I just know that I haven't always been reliable. I still am building that level of self-trust. And I think ultimately it's because we don't have to do it alone. And we're not wired as human beings to step that far into risk and uncertainty without having what feels like a little bit of a safety net and then accountability on the other side. It's kind of like if you bookend it with both, you had the community that was pouring belief into you plus the accountability. Yeah.
I say it all the time, get in the arena. And when you get in the expanders arena, whatever your biggest dream is, you could just tell this group of women and they're like, all right, let's go. Come on, let's do this. And they're your biggest cheerleaders. And then it's like anything is possible. But when you're in a small arena or when you're just in the background, just in the back, just watching and not doing anything, it's just like, oh, maybe that's not for me. But when you get in the expanders arena, it's like, let's go, girl.
Well, same thing with your podcast. I know Felicia was a big part in helping you launch your podcast.
Yeah.
Because same thing that happened in here. It's like when you state it out loud. So this is what we can all take away. State it out loud in a room like this and be bold in asking for what you want and need. Because you're usually in a room like this, you're typically only 1 to 3 introductions and brave questions or bold asks away from anything you want to create. It's just how willing are you to lean into the discomfort to ask those questions, right? So good. Speaking of pivots, I mean, you don't even, you and I both, girl, we don't even have the same name as the first Expanders Retreat.
No, we do not.
So, you really have pivoted so beautifully. I know you might not feel it like it's always beautiful. And I know behind the scenes it's not, right? But I want you to share a little bit of the pivots that you've made and how you knew it was time to pivot. Because again, you'd built a really successful brand and business. So it's one thing to pivot when you're like, that's not working. Let me try something new. But it's a whole other thing to pivot when you're like, this is actually working really well. And there's something more I'm being asked to do.
Yeah. Okay. So I've made so many pivots. I wrote down like 14 answers to this question before I came here, just trying to hone in on one because there's so many. So I had this life that I never talk about before I had any kind of career, married to a professional athlete, a professional rugby player. And I stayed at home and I had kids and lived this really unique lifestyle overseas for 10 years. And when that ended, I started in recruitment and I built a multi-6-figure recruitment business that I also never talk about for some strange reason. Based only on referrals and absolutely no emails, no marketing, not a single dollar ever spent, just doing really, really good fucking work in a niche industry. And I overlooked that. I say that because I'm going to come back to it. I completely overlooked that when I pivoted to creating a coaching business. I found myself doing this thing that I think we all do as entrepreneurs when I tapped into a passion to help people, to heal them, and to use my spiritual gifts. And I freaked the fuck out. I was so afraid without even knowing that, so afraid of being judged, so afraid of people thinking I'm weird, being criticized, and thinking also that I couldn't possibly make money as a spiritual entrepreneur. So I had a lot going on and I started getting into rooms, right? Rooms like this. And I got into a room and somebody gave me permission. I say this intentionally, not gave me a suggestion, gave me permission to create a business called Break Up with Busy, which was a little idea I had for a program. And I went, yes, that's what I'm going to do. With my ego, my wound, I didn't want to be seen in my spiritual identity and my gifts. So I took it, I ran with it. I built a whole coaching business around it and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I didn't find the success that I thought that I was going to find. And I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. And it did not light me up. And then I thought, what the hell am I going to do now? So I went to the Expanders Retreat in Austin, the second one. And I'm circling with this question. And lo and behold, Lindsay just like intuitively brings in Mel Wells. And Mel Wells is a 7-figure spiritual entrepreneur. And I was like, oh, okay, amazing. I needed this woman in my life here today. Also someone I'd followed and admired for a really long time. And then we're sitting down at dinner and I'm telling Lindsay about my struggle. And I'm like, yeah, but break up with busy. It's so catchy. And like, I don't know if I should let her. She's like, it's really not that special.
Did I really say it like that?
Yeah. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. And then she followed it up with, it's just not really the essence of what you do. And she was right. I was just running scared and just creating all this stuff for the sake of creating something, watching what other people were doing. I spent $8,000 on this launch that totally flopped because I thought that's what I needed to do. And I was just not trusting myself. Taylor, you kind of touched on this, to do things my way, to just like lean into what I do and my gifts and like just do really good work that feels really, really good and lights me up and lights other people up, and just let the God universe like take the wheel, And so now I'm in a season where that's exactly what I'm doing. And yes, thank you. I really truly feel like the most me I've ever felt in my life. I feel honestly like crazy unstoppable. It's maybe a little delusional, but there's a common thread here that because I like to leave you guys with something tangible. There's like 3 things for me that I've noticed are always present when I'm ready to pivot that equals success. Okay. So the first one is every time I'm on the verge of a meaningful pivot that's meant to be, I get like a punch in the face from God universe, like the Mel Wells, or running into an NFL player at the airport who's like, you need to come and work with our team.
And that was because you had to leave the Expanders retreat early.
Can I
and
tell
you were
that
so
story?
mad. Please do.
Okay, I'm gonna tell the story.
This is like the magic that happens at Expanders. It actually
yeah, super
real.
quick. So I had to leave the Expanders retreat in February and I was pissed. Okay, pissed. I had to get home to my kids. I had just changed my last name to Rylan, totally made up. Okay, because I was trying to shed my attachment to my ex-husband and my old life as a WAG, wife and girlfriend of a professional athlete. This life I've been running from for a very long time. Ironically, I go to the airport. I try to check in security. My TSA pre-check declines because I changed my last name. And I go and I'm in this crazy long security line. I start talking to the guy behind me. I'm like, what does he want to talk about? Super nice young kid. And he starts to tell me that he plays in the NFL. And I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I lived this whole life, blah, 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 like verbal diarrhea. And then I tell him what I do with like energy healing and, limited belief rewiring. And he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. We need this in the NFL. And I'm like, punch in the face, Universe punched me in the face, It was like, holy shit. Like, have you had those moments where you're just like, oh my God, why did I never even think of this, right? So that was number 1. Then number 2 is, for me, I get this, like, I have to have a logical check, right? There's like an undeniable logic layer there that happens. Of course, I would do this work. Of course I would. I have experienced it. I have lived it. I have the lived experience and the skills, right? And then third, there's this feeling for me in my body that's just like neutral, but also, of course. Just like, of course. That's the feeling. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not super excited. It's not like, oh my God, that's amazing. Oh, can I do this? It's just like, yeah, of course. And so I am not working with that team, but since then, I got invited into working in I can't say, but professional baseball. So I've been working in professional baseball in the last 3 months, which has been so phenomenal and fulfilling. And I actually just got invited on Wednesday before I got on the plane to do some work at the Super Bowl this year. Yeah.
She told me she had news for me. I didn't realize you were going to drop it on me on the panel.
There's more, but I won't go into it now for sake of time.
But I just remember getting the text from her because we knew she was like so sad she had to leave early, didn't want to miss out. And then she's like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened. Meanwhile, we're hosting the Expanders Retreat. We were at the Global Ambassador Hotel here in Phoenix. And we hear just like this thumping music on the other side of the air wall. And we're like, oh, that event is loud. Like, what are they doing? And then we're in the 3rd day, just much like this. And I'm watching as I'm leading the session, the who's who of personal development walk past. Like, what were some
Jim Quick.
Jim
Tony Robbins.
Quick.
Was it Tony?
Well,
was
it was
Robbins?
Tony
No.
Robbins was hosting his event on the other side of the air wall, and we were like, of course,
Yeah.
of course,
Of course. Yeah. And so,
And all the women in that group were like, what's happening in here? This looks more fun.
yeah.
That's just what they said. That's not me. That's them.
Yeah. So I think like when it comes to pivoting, for me now, I have a new rule for myself. It's like, if it meets that 3 criteria, I'm good with it. And I'm good without needing to know what it is. My coaching business, I got stuck building from my mind. And I've realized now I have to build from my soul and then apply my mind. And so I have a mantra for myself as a gut check where I say to myself, outsource your questions, but insource your answers. So ask, like, get in the rooms, learn from everybody, like, find out what other people are doing, but come back to what is right for you and look at the times in your life when you've been successful and what do they have in common. For me, it's just following whatever lights me up and just not needing to know what the runway is going to look like.
So
Thank you.
good. Okay, so for you, Felicia, this is something I think that blows my mind because, I mean, I remember the first time I ever saw Felicia wasn't in person. It was on the cover of my Oxygen magazine. So when we finally became friends and just getting to know you and know your heart and the work that you're doing, like you're one of the people that it like blows my mind when you talk about having imposter syndrome. I'm like, but how? How? And it's the reminder, right, that no matter what we've accomplished, we're all going to have those moments that maybe we feel like we don't belong in a room. And I know you coach a lot of women on this, but I want to hear your personal experience with this. Like, do you ever feel like you don't belong in a room? What do you do to support yourself when imposter syndrome really does rear its head?
That's such a great question. And I have a story that actually happened recently where I was asked to be a speaker at an event, actually just last week.
A huge event.
Huge event.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
The speaker lineup was like incredible. I didn't even know that Lindsay and Lori were talking about me. Like, oh, because Lori had said, hey, Felicia, like I saw this. I was like, that's incredible. Like, you don't know who's watching, right? But as these women are watching what I'm posting deep down inside, I was terrified. Like, I think they picked the wrong person. Like, I don't belong on that stage, even though I had all of the, the accolades and the proof that maybe I belonged on that stage, but I didn't feel it. And so this is where it's so incredible to have a tribe of women like cheering you on. So I get to Atlanta. And I'd already spoke to my girlfriends like, oh my gosh, ladies, like I was super honest. I can send them a voice note telling them how I'm feeling. And they're like, Felicia, you got this. Like my friend Annette's in the UK right now, like seriously, like sending me, all of the love. Well, anyways, I get to Atlanta and all of a sudden, like I'm getting ready for bed and this video pops in and I get a text message from my friend Stephanie, who's actually in the audience right now. Where is she? Oh, she's living all back there. Stephanie Dorworth, your video gal. She's incredible. And I open up this video. Okay. So this girl, she put together a video in less than 24 hours with 6 of my closest girlfriends who are actually in the audience right now, where they were all pouring into me, telling me how I'm going to do amazing. You're incredible. And it was their own, like literally less than 24 hours. They spent the time. I mean, my friends, some are traveling, some are in their own launches. They're all doing incredible things in their lives, but they still took the time to create a video and send that to me. And I was in tears. I was and I felt so supported. And so, whenever I have those moments of I don't belong in the room or I am feeling the imposter syndrome, I think I'm reminded, and actually my talk that day, this was a week ago now, is authenticity. When you are vibrating at your highest self. Now, authenticity, if any of you are familiar, I remember hearing this TED Talk or some sort of talk with Gary Brecka, and he talked about authenticity. Authenticity is the highest vibration that you can operate under, even above love. And I reminded myself, wow, Felicia, just be yourself and the right people will be there, right? If you are authentic, you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. And that's why even whenever you hesitate to pick up the phone and speak to it and, talk about, something that maybe you're afraid to talk about, but you are like an authority in it, you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong if you're just being yourself and you're authentic. So that is my reminder anytime I feel like I don't belong in the room or I'm feeling that imposter syndrome creep up. I know that I have an incredible tribe of women that are cheering me on. And I know that I can trust that I'm being my most authentic self. Yeah.
Isn't that so true? And it's like, well, now we all have that. We all have that group of women because you're here. So I'm actually going to have all of you stay out here while I was going to go into sharing a little bit about the Expanders Retreat next, because there's no one better to share what it's really like than the people who've been not to just one, but multiple retreats. And a big question I got yesterday is like, some of you even came up like, I want to talk afterward, upgrade or expanders, which one? So I'll kind of give you the distinction, at least how it's feeling for me right now, because again, the upgrade hasn't happened and it's going to be something we really co-create together. And then I'll have each of you kind of share your perspective on expanders, who it's for. So for me, it's actually not an either or. It really is a both if you can do it. If you're feeling called to both, it might be both. Or it could be what I would run the decision through is expanders is a 3-day very immersive retreat, and it's a lot more intimate. So it's me and you and 30-ish women, and we go pretty deep in those conversations. So we bring in speakers. The next retreat is in Nashville. Anyone love Nashville? It's in November, the 11th through the 13th of November. And I never release the speaker lineup ahead of time. I know they hate me for it, but just think about some of the coolest people in Nashville you could want to learn from that I'm friends with. Maybe they'll be there. So what we do though is we created a space where we get very deep and real with these women. They share things that they can't necessarily share in their podcast because it's not stuff that is even for public consumption, but like the very nitty-gritty of the challenges they've overcome, exactly what they're spending to scale their business, exactly what their teams look like. So it's both tactical, but also it's like the deeper inner transformation that none of you really even know you're coming in for. Is that accurate to say? And, much like this experience unfolded, it's something that we co-create together. The only reason there's an income kind of like threshold for that experience is because when you hit a certain level of business that you're starting to scale a little bit more, you're starting to build teams, the challenges you have are just different. So it's not that someone who's not already making 200, 250K or more isn't worthy of being in that room. You're all worthy. It's just that it wouldn't be responsible for me to accept your investment because you wouldn't be ready for the room and those conversations. So just trust me when and if you apply for expanders and you get like a not now, not yet, it's not at all because I don't see the potential in you. It really is that it wouldn't be the best investment for you at this stage of your business because the conversations that we have are at a certain level that we want to make sure everyone in the room is kind of already kind of having those same problems, and we can go a lot faster and deeper because we're all speaking the same language. So there is an application process. The applications are going to open really soon. So the information is all in your attendee workbook. You just DM the Powerhouse_women Instagram account, the word expanders. Krista was talking about ManyChat. That's the little automatic thing that says like, what's your email? We'll add you to the wait list. So we'll be opening up the wait list soon for Nashville. But the biggest difference between that experience versus the upgrade is really for integration. This is why I say it's a both and, because expanders is a standalone experience. It's very powerful. It's one of the most potent things I've ever created. And I think it's just because we co-create it together with such high-level women. But I don't offer there's like no calls, no community, no support after that, other than the community takes it upon themselves to stay connected. And I hear there's like these group chats that just are still popping off a year and a half later that I'm not a part of. And I get FOMO a little bit sometimes, but it would probably feel like mom is there if I'm popping into the chat. So there's a lot of community that lives beyond the retreat, but we curate the retreat and the potency of it is meant to be this transformational 3-day experience. The upgrade is for ongoing integration. Over 4 months, what we can do together is different and it's deeper in some ways, but the Expanders Retreat is in person, so it has that extra potency. So I'm going to be available at the end of the day. If you're like, no, here's my specific situation, which one do you think is for me? I'm so happy to answer any questions. So I would love to just kind of throw it to each of you. I'll start with Taylor. Who would you say the Expanders Retreat was for or is for? And maybe like, where were you in your process when you were like, yep, this is my time?
Okay. I'm going to speak from this angle. At the time, I knew I needed to go first. So I knew that this program launch that just hit 6 figures was my highest priced yet. And if I was about to launch something that was that much, I needed to first do it for myself to become the match to call it in. So that was, I think, the biggest part for me was I did both 6 months apart. It's a big investment. And I knew it was scary. I remember talking to Lindsay. I was like, oh, this price point makes me feel very stretchy. And I know that's intentional. And she's like, absolutely. And so I think that for me, that was exactly what I needed to know. Oh, this is what you have to feel it first. You have to embody it first. This is what it feels like to invest this much time, this much money, this much energy into myself, even when I'm terrified to do it. And through the process is now I became the person that can now hold that myself to invite others to join me.
Mm-hmm. And that's so true. That was a big part of my expansion into higher ticket offerings myself was, that $15,000 mastermind I invested in where it wasn't that great, but honestly paying the $15,000 and noticing how that felt for me, knowing I wanted to eventually curate spaces like this was part of the value that I got out of it. I love that. Mapuana, what about for you? Who would you say it's for? Where were you at? And how did you know it was the next step for you?
I knew it was for me because at that moment I was ready to leave photography, which was a 15-year very successful business. And I was ready to step into something new. But it was almost like I'm like this onion with the last layer. And like I wanted to just go really fast. I wanted to be in a room that was just like poof. Like I just needed to be ready to just let go and just go really fast. And I signed up. You were talking about it on your podcast and I would listen to it. I'm in Hawaii on my treadmill and I'm like, is she talking to just me at this point? But I knew I needed to be in that room because I knew I wanted to grow, but I wanted to grow fast and I wanted to grow with other women who were on the same like speed limit as I was.
Mm-hmm. So well said. Marisa, what about for you?
So for me, I was at that moment in time just like spinning and spinning and spinning and circling the drain on like, what do I do now? What do I do today? What do I do next? How do I do that? I had so many questions just sitting in my home office in Michigan. And so for me, I knew, okay, well, I need to immerse myself. I didn't want to go join like 15 different programs, right? On like marketing and funnels and whatever. I wanted to get as much as I could from one scenario. And honestly, I wanted community. I think we've said this many times, and Shauna and some others, like it's really tough in the Midwest. Where are my Midwestern ladies at? Yeah, sometimes. And so I wanted to get out of that environment and meet some other people and make some friends and people that see me. I really wanted to be seen and find my confidence and my answers. So I think it's for that woman.
And it's so important. I talk to so many of you because I'm a Midwesterner too. So I'm always like, I know what that's like when you're not surrounded by an immediate community of people. And it's true, when you live in places where you don't have that, it does require additional investment. It requires getting out of your comfort zone in a different way. But those rooms exist, whether it's here, whether it's Expanders, whether it's Powerhouse Women, or find the room where you really feel called to invest and go deep with that group of women. Take the step, take the risk, take the chance on yourself, because it just requires a little bit of intention, because just like I was waiting to be discovered, the women who you're looking to connect with aren't going to show up on your doorstep. They don't know you're looking to connect with them.
Can I just add real quick? So like I also live in a small town. I live on an island.
A literal island.
A little island. And then not only am I on that island, I'm actually in the country on that list. I'm not even in the city, And so for me, I felt like I've outgrown my own community. And I needed to put myself in a community where I could grow. It's like being in a pot and your roots are like ready to bust out. And I'm like, I need to get out of this pot and put me in a bigger pot. And that's when I was like, I know this is for me.
I love that. Felicia, what about for you?
Ooh, as they were all sharing their answers, what came through for me is actually Tracy and I were talking about this recently, that Lindsay, you are such a mirror for us. And, seeing Lindsay in this, I think I signed up for the Expanders Retreat without even really reading a sales page. So if any of you are familiar with human design, I respond to my sacral so I can feel it in my body. And as soon as she announced it, I was like, I have to be there, signed up. I've been to 2 so far, the first one and the third. And the one thing I love about Lindsay is because she's been such an expander for me, because I host retreats and I have been playing small in that circle, right? Maybe charging a quarter of the price of what the Expanders Retreat is. And I wanted to be there to just see Lindsay in her essence, her being, because energy is so important. I think we can think that we need the tactical. We think that we need the strategy, which is part of it, yes. But it's really the energetics that is happening, the energy in the room, how I'm seeing Lindsay show up and being. And even if you've noticed her upgrade the last few years and how she shows up and how she carries herself, even the upgrade in what she wears, right? For her podcast and for her brand, that is expansive for me, especially coming from someone in fitness that I actually wanted to just kind of be in the background, or when I would speak, let me not wear the brightest orange boots. I'm just going to wear tennies. I've even changed in that, right? And that's what you're going to get in Expanders. You're going to get a whole energetic shift and upgrade, because there are women in the room that are literally either mirrors for you or triggers for you. And I say thank you to the triggers. And so, that was really, really powerful for me. And I remember right before I signed up for the retreat, because I know that it's always the inner work that's actually, whenever I do the inner work is when I am actually entering into my next expansion. And I had just had this really awesome thing happen. This was maybe a few weeks before I signed up for Expanders Retreat. And I realized, if any of you have read The Big Leap, love The Big Leap, I recommend you read it at least once a year. I kept hitting this upper limit. And I would self-sabotage my own happiness and joy because I actually found comfort in chaos. And so anytime that something really good was happening in my life, I would bring myself back down vibrationally to where I had to have chaos. I had to fight with my partner and create problems with my husband. I had to bring myself back down because I didn't know how to feel good up here. And it wasn't until I was aware of it and I was like, okay, something needs to change. And then I just so happened to see the Expanders. I knew that I needed to do some more inner work. And you're going to get that with these deeper conversations, because it's more than the tactical and the strategy. It's really this energetic playground that we get to play in and we get to step into, because Lindsay is such a great mirror for that. And all of the other women that I've met in the room have now become some of my closest friends. I would do Expanders again if I knew I was going to go speak in Hawaii, which I did on Mapuana's panel. Incredible. The opportunities that you get, the networking and the connections, it's incredible. It's incredible. But yeah, that was my yes, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's just been the coolest experience to get to expand alongside you, because you are my peers. We're in this journey together. And what I love about this kind of goes back to what I was sharing earlier today about following my intuition, allowing myself to create the business that feels good for me. I realized that I wasn't feeling great doing year-long masterminds where there was a lot of Zoom calls in between. I think I was very zoomed out after 2020. And I was like, could I have the audacity to just offer the retreat experience? Because that was my favorite part about hosting a mastermind, was curating this deep, connective experience. And it was when I launched the first one, I was like, is anyone going to show up? Is this going to go the way that I hope it goes? And so right now in this season of my life and business, I just allow myself to plan for the next retreat. So when people are like, I'll see you in 2027, I'm like, maybe. Meaning if it's on your vision board for later. So, we're doing the next retreat in November. The dates and everything is in your workbook. Applications will open soon. But again, just further permission to continue just allowing your intuition to guide you, knowing that you don't have to know exactly what's far, far in the future, and keep doing things as long as it feels good and feels fun. And now I can't imagine a year like without bookending it, fall and spring expanders retreats, because I can't imagine going that long without seeing all of you and your expansion. So thank you so much for joining me today. Can we give it up for the panel?